Hello and welcome to Motorsport Radio. This is the Superbike Show. My name is Lester, and on tonight's show, talking about all things bikes, MotoGP, BSB, World Superbikes, and anything else that we can fit into a couple of hours. Please welcome Tristan Finocchiaro and, just outside of his box, because he's a rebel, Jay King. Hello, good evening, guys.
Hi, Lester, how are we?
Good evening.
Yes, I'm very well. A little bit disorientated because it's now officially the end of my season. Well, I won't go into exactly why I'm disorientated, but let's just say it's been a challenging few weeks. I'll say that. Yes. It was a bit tense towards the end, doing every single week. But anyway.
Does it feel a bit weird not having to go to motorsport events on the weekend?
Sort of, except I did just go to a motorsport event at the weekend.
Okay.
And I've just got back from it.
He's coming to Mallory Park. He doesn't know yet.
Yeah, I'd love to go. Maybe next year. Hi, Hudson. Maybe we can get onto that later. So this is the Superbike Show. What is it? If you've never heard or listened to us before, well, it is literally just a Superbike Show. Updates on, basically, if you've missed any of MotoGP or World Superbikes, we will try and give you all the latest, biggest, most pertinent bits of information and news, but before all of that, I just wanted to, I suppose if you've just tuned in for the first time ever, introduce you to our guests, or co-presenters, let's say, or actual presenters. Tristan Finocchiaro, who you may know as a bike racer in the National Superstock 600 category in 2020, and is it confirmed for next year as well, 600 class?
Yeah, it'll be stock 600 next year. Yeah.
Okay, and 600 class in 2021. Good stuff. With what team? Who knows?
Who knows? Indeed.
And Jay King, yes, that's right. The Jay King, double Pit Bike 140 champion.
Whoa. Three times, thank you. 3 times.
In recent years, double Pit Bike 140 champion that I know of. Anyway, Jay King of Fab Racing. Welcome onto the show, and you've brought the pair of you a selection of hair colours.
An array of colour.
You've got some more of a...
I was hoping mine would be gone today, but the hairdressers is fully booked.
Did it not wash out?
No, this doesn't wash out, sadly. Well, no, it's good it doesn't wash out, because that would get a bit expensive doing that every time I have a shower.
And hello to Michael Howarth, who called us Take That Before the... what was it? Take That Before the... something or other. It was
something like that.
Yeah, before the... I don't know. Before rehab. Yeah, that was it. Hello, anyway. We should get him on, actually, Michael Howarth. Never short of a few things to say. So anyway, some big news... I suppose, broke yesterday, unsurprisingly, in BSB regarding OMG. They've been almost leading our news headlines the past couple of weeks, and it's the rider lineup. Tristan, tell us more.
Yeah, I mean, if you haven't already heard, OMG have dropped the 2 riders that have been running this year, Mossy and Barbara. So, Luke Mossy and Hector Barbara won't be returning to their team for 2021. Both their contracts have ended and won't be renewed. The team will run, obviously, 2 new riders. And both of them will be running, obviously, the new BMW 1, the M1000 RR. The first rider is set to be announced in the upcoming week. So that's something we have to look forward to. The second rider hasn't actually been decided yet. We've got a little bit of a theory as to who the first rider is going to be. And we think it might very well be Peter Hickman. He announced that he's returning to the grid for 2021. With Smith pulling out, it's obviously he's not returning with them. And with both OMG and Hickman have announced that they're returning but not announcing how they're doing it, I think it's safe to say that Pete Hickman is probably going to be that first rider. There's a lot of strong rumours linking it. What do you guys think?
Me? You're asking me?
Asking Jay.
No,
Jay, what do you think?
Yeah, obviously OMG want to do some of the roads, so obviously you're not getting a better man for the roads than Peter Hickman. I can't see anyone beating him in the 2 distant future on the roads. So obviously he's got a lot of experience on the BMW as well. So it would seem like a perfect match, really. And
of course, let's not forget they do already, let's say, collaborate with each other.
Yes, with the BMB Championship.
Yes, so they are kind of already unofficially sort of working together anyway. So if the move does happen, well, as and when it does happen, I'm going to claim credit on announcing that.
I don't think you'll get very good odds at the bookies for him not signing for them.
Well, I did ask them a couple of weeks ago, and they didn't deny it, but they never admitted it either. So I don't know.
So we could say it's a strong possibility.
Yes, it's a hot rumour, kids. But yeah, nobody would be surprised if and when that does in fact get announced. But let's just talk for a second about Luke Mossey. I don't know if anyone genuinely. I thought he was in for a really good shout of maybe getting another season because he's a class rider.
Well, he's struggled a bit this year, hasn't he? I think he's struggled a bit since more or less since 2017. I mean, he's been in the category since 2015, hasn't he? He rode a decent rookie season with a podium and some top five, showed some promise, but perhaps hasn't really gelled with the BMW.
Jay, do you have any thoughts?
I raced with Luke when I was a kid, and I've known him for a long time. He is a super fast rider. I think a couple of seasons back, he had a bit of an unlucky spell. He had just won I think he did the double at Brands Hatch Indy, and then the next round he had a big crash at Thruxton on the start and finish, and it just seems like he's never really recovered since then. I don't think he's been on the podium since that double win at Brands Hatch Indy. So yeah, I think maybe it was time. I don't know, maybe he needs to drop down a class, maybe try and get his confidence back, and then maybe come back to Superbikes in the future.
Maybe, I don't know, maybe we could attempt to even get him on the show if he's got the appetite for it. But I think I would like to hear from Luke Mossey just to see how much fire and hunger he still has to even pursue another ride at the top level of British motorcycle racing, or maybe he might be of the opinion, like you said, Jay, that maybe to drop down a class. He was very successful in the Super Sport class before he did come to Superbike. So maybe a return back to there would do his confidence some good. Maybe, I don't know. If you've got any thoughts on that and you're tuned in, listening live, get in touch at Motorsport Radio on Facebook and Twitter, and we might even read out the comments when I get my comments up on the screen here.
Keep an eye on them this week, Lester.
I will. Get in your box, Jay. Jay's got a problem. I've told him, warning me about getting strained from his box. There you go. What about the second rider? Who do we think for that?
Well, on the press release, they've said that they're talking to a number of riders. I mean, we had a theory last week that that possibly Brooks was going to, or Jay had a theory last week that possibly Brooks was going to go to that ride, possibly for big money.
Yeah. I think there's three that I would like to see. I'd like to see Chrissy get given a chance. Just won the Stock 1000 Championship. Obviously, he won that on a BMW, so he's obviously they're a Superbike and a stock bike. They're a bit different, but he's obviously used to the BMW. I'd like to see Joe Francis given a chance because I know there's a lot of other BSB riders said
I'd agree with that.
If he was on a competitive bike that he could be challenging at the sharp end. And we know there's a few rumours that Danny Kent maybe could be in the Superbike class next season, so maybe that could be a ride that they could look at for him.
Yeah, and with Francis, he's also been riding the BMW for the past couple of seasons as well, although it will be different BMW, but you like to think there's going to be some sort of similarities between them, so it could be a good move for them having someone who's done that, and also moving him next to, if we assume that the first rider is going to be Peter Hickman, moving someone like Francis, I know he's been there a couple of seasons now, but moving someone who's more of an up-and-coming kind of rider with someone who's got a lot of experience like Peter Hickman is a pretty good team structure as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, I think personally, just a theory based on nothing at all, a little bit of how much I think I know OMG and the ethos and the hunger that team has, because I think that team OMG from the word go have been considered by others to be somewhat underdogs, and OMG believe, potentially rightly so, we'll find out next year, that they should be fighting for every win, every championship, and that maybe even they should be they should have factory backing, or more factory backing if they don't already get it. So I think there's an outside possibility that maybe a world championship rider might come into the team.
Ooh, Chaz Davis maybe.
Possibly, because I think the status of OMG from those within the team, they're already thinking that they are, that they deserve to be, on the same levels as Paul Burt, if not bigger. And why
I think that's probably what they were hoping with Barbara this year. Obviously, he's a very experienced MotoGP rider, Grand Prix rider, so maybe they were hoping he would make British Superbikes look easy, but obviously that didn't happen really.
Well, that just goes to show, if anything, that BSB is actually, I know it's often
extremely competitive championship.
Extremely competitive, and just once again goes to show that with Scott Redding, I think, being the main exception for former GP riders and World Superbike riders that come into BSB, it is extremely difficult and is by far the world's best domestic bike competition championship in the world.
100%.
So I
also goes to show how impressive it was from Redding, from what he did that year to go to come in and win it, because obviously not a lot of people have been able to do it, like Barbara, like you said.
Definitely.
Yeah. At the start of that season, a lot of people were saying Scott Redding weren't going to do it, and I think he had those few rounds right at the start where he kind of just put himself in slowly, got a few top fives, and then once the wins started coming, no one could stop him in the end, really.
So, my prediction for OMG is that they will probably sign, I'm guessing, Peter Hickman, or he will be announced anyway, as a OMG rider and a superstar World Superbike rider, because the team, I think, are looking for, not that Peter Hickman isn't star quality, he is, but I think the team want two massive names to propel them to the front of the grid where they think they should be and have been before. And good luck to them if they can make it, if they can pull that off, that strategy. If that is their strategy, why wouldn't it be? But we will wait and see. But
it would be nice to see a BMW actually doing well as well. Because we still haven't. They always say every year, "Oh, this BMW is going to be great. It's going to be the best bike," and it just never really is.
Anyway,
but someone did say to me the other day they should have won the championship. I forgot what year it is. I think it might have been 13 when Keogh was leading the championship going into the last round, but he crashed in morning warm up and broke his arm, I believe. Right. So that's probably the closest they've come to winning the championship.
Well, in recent years, I mean, we've seen. Anyway, I'm not sure. I don't know. Let us know if you tuned in live. What do you think? OMG, Rich Energy OMG with the BMW going to do it next year? Are they going to get challenged from other BMWs? Is there going to be a BMW lockout at the front for some reason of BSB? But I don't know. Your thoughts. Other news though. OMG aside, Tristan, what else is happening?
Well, in terms of in terms of BSB, not a lot. There's there's a bit going on over MotoGP and World Superbike. I just want to touch on a little bit on obviously because we were just talking about Scott Redding and or rather Barbara and how difficult it was for him to come into the championship and do that. Now that he's been dropped by this team and there's not too many options out there at the moment, what do we think is going to be, what's going to happen to Barbara? Will he retire? He's 33 years old. What do you think, Jay?
Yeah, I would say retire, or maybe, obviously with his vast experience, maybe a test rider sort of thing.
Ouch.
Or a lot of riders, when they get to his age, they do the endurance scene. So maybe something in that. But I think he will be extremely disappointed with his rides this season, I would have thought. So maybe a test rider role somewhere.
Talking about endurance. Sorry to interrupt.
Yes.
There's a certain endurance championship or series that you'll be racing in the coming days, Jay.
Saturday at Mallory Park. It'll be the last outing on a bike for me this year. A 6-hour race on what are basically road 125. So you've got the likes of Yamaha. I think they're called Yamaha. I forgot what the Yamaha 125s are called. You've got
Yamahas.
The KTMs, which Tristan will know because they're basically the same as the 390s, what he used to race. The Suzuki and the Honda, the Honda which we're on. I'm in a team with Callum Beach, British Talent Cup rider, Jack Andrews, who races in the Pit Bike 140s, and Ian Jackson, who races in the Moto Team class. We came third at Wilton Mills out of the 45 riders. So I think it's going to be really hard at Mallory because I think there's going to be quite a few BSB boys there because obviously they're not doing anything now because the race season's finished, so they don't mind getting injured. But I think we're aiming for top 10, but 90 bikes on the grid is going to be absolutely manic going around Mallory Park.
And, it'd be good to have it live streamed one day, maybe.
Yes.
90
Hello,
bikes.
Hudson.
Hi, Hudson. Give me a call. That should be an interesting one. I will follow it as much as I can on my Facebooks because,
I'm really looking forward to it. It's going to be carnage.
That's one word for it. Yes.
There's going to be I reckon there's going to be from the slowest person in 90th place to probably the fastest person who's probably going to be Eddie O'Shea or something like that. It's probably going to be 30 seconds a lap, I reckon, it. So
I don't know.
Can you imagine them two going into the hairpin at Mallory at the same time? It's going to be hectic.
Yes, I can actually. I can imagine that. I think he has rode anyway. Never mind. Let's carry on with what we were talking about. But endurance racing. Sorry to interrupt you, Tristan. What were you saying a moment ago?
No, that's all right. Obviously, going back to Barbara. He hasn't had any podiums since moving to BSB. His best result's been 6th, which was back in 2019. This year he didn't finish higher than 10th. So he hasn't really done much since leaving GP. So, obviously we talk about this possibility that he could retire, but where else could he go? Could he go CV, Moto America? Considering he hasn't done a great deal, it's probably the most likely thing is going to be retirement. He dabbled a bit in World Superbikes, didn't he? He went to and did a bit in World Supersport with Team Toth, and then they had a massive fallout about someone stole a bike and
Moto America
they blamed.
Would be a good shout because obviously Elias went over there and he kind of revived his career and he landed up winning the championship over there and he's still riding there now. So maybe that would be a good shout. Obviously, I think they pay quite good money in America as well. That's what I've heard from other teams. So,
yeah, apparently the prize money's meant to be quite big over there, isn't it?
Going back to Luke Mossy, a couple of years ago, he used to go over there when he rode for is it Stapleford's team? I forgot what the team's name was.
Yeah, the Profile Racing.
Yeah, they went over to Daytona, and they said they went over there, even top 10s, they'd get massive prize money for racing at Daytona. So, yeah, maybe go do that.
Okay, interesting. And another possibility, I don't know, maybe some people know, maybe I'm going to look like a total fool for not even knowing, but the Moto America champion this year, is he staying over there? Is he looking at other things? I don't know what the Cameron's doing, or could there be a possibility for BSB? I don't know.
He's just signed for Moto 2. So Cameron Bobbio will be moving.
Yeah, I knew that.
To Moto 2 for 2021, so I don't think he's going to be coming to BSB.
Well,
but you never know in the future.
It's good to see more Americans coming through now because it's been a long while since we've had good fast American riders.
Yeah, and I think that's also the basis of this team, isn't it? This American racing team was been put together to help Americans come through into world championships and do good things, because obviously they've got Joe Roberts this year who's had a sort of on and off season. He's been at the front at some rounds, but it's clearly a decent enough team if they can run at the front of races. So I mean, yeah, like you say, it gives Americans a good opportunity to come over from Moto America into World Championships and give it a go. So it's essentially almost what Dixon has done from BSB to Moto2, except from America.
Yeah, and obviously Gerloff has had a good end to the season in World Superbike, so there's some promising Americans coming through.
There you go. Sorry, I was just looking at something. I was looking for something. I want to... Never mind. Okay, so let us know your thoughts on who might go where, who would be a good fit for whom. If you have any information on any riders, if you are a rider and you want to, I don't know, get some stuff off your chest about how good or bad your team have been this year in whatever team you are, in whatever championship, then get in touch. You're more than welcome to come on the show if you like. It's at Motorsport Radio, the Superbike Show, and we are right now live on this Wednesday night, I think. Yeah, Wednesday.
It is Wednesday.
It is indeed Wednesday.
It's the last couple of weeks. It's just been everywhere.
A blur.
Hello to who's that over there? Neil Banham over there. Hello, Neil. Tuned in. Hello to Kim Hollings. Hi, Kim. And Wendy Ann King. Hello, Wendy.
That's my wife.
That's Jay's wife. Tuned in.
She's probably not tuned in anymore.
Oh, she probably just liked it, just to pretend she was tuned in. Hello to you. We're also streaming on the BSB and Support Classes fans group on Facebook. Hello to the 20-odd thousand people tuned in there. Hello, Alan Standing, Dale Extons, Luke White, and Adam Stroud as well, and Silvio from Argentina. Hello there. And you can drop your comments in the comments box below wherever you're tuned in and have your say on some of the nonsense that we're all talking about. Cough it up, Jay. That's all right.
Yep.
There you go. We are currently talking about who's been where. Like you said, not much. It's been relatively quiet in BSB terms over the past couple of days, although I get the feeling that whenever we go off air, some big news breaks, and we've just been like we'll find out like just after 10 o'clock or something. We're like, no, that rider just retired or whatever. I don't know. But as I said, if you are a rider and you, wanted to come on the show for an interview, because we've got one coming up. Who is it? Tell us, Tristan.
Well, we've got Jordan Weaving coming on the show in a little bit, and he's going to be coming on and talking a little bit about about his career, because he's actually announced that he's going to no longer be racing. So, which is a very interesting decision, and we'll be able to hear from him a bit later why he's taken that decision, that's going to be really interesting here. So he's going to tell us a little bit about his career and a little bit about what inspired his decision to exit from the sport.
Could it be money or lack thereof?
Most likely.
I don't know. He's probably got a lot in common with me in that I don't have any money to go racing, but. Maybe another question that I'll be keeping under my hat for you later, Tristan. Mm-hmm. I will reveal what that question is. You can probably already guess.
I can't.
Okay, well, I'll tell you later. I'll ask you later. So we'll have Jordan on the show a little bit later. Was going to have Ben Luxton, but he vanished off the face of the earth. Hi, Ben, if you tuned in. Which is weird, because he's only down the road. He's Stockport. Anyway.
Go grab him.
I would, but anyway.
His van doesn't work.
Thank you. It's not a sore point, don't worry.
Is it a French van? That's a yes.
No comment. That's a no comment.
To break if you bought a French van.
And in other news, what else is happening, Tristan? I don't know. What other news have we got? We've got developing World Superbikes. Let's move on to that. Your old stomping ground.
Yeah, well, Superbike. So there's obviously not a lot going on at the moment with it being the off season, but we've heard a little bit about from Bautista about the Honda and about his experiences when he first got on it. He's admitted, which I think is quite a bold thing to do considering you're racing and for that manufacturer, but he's come out and said, or admitted rather, that when he first jumped on the 2020 Honda at the beginning of the year, that he hated it, which, like I say, it's a very bold thing to say when you're working for that manufacturer and riding for them. He says the first time he rode it, the bike, he said he liked nothing about it, apparently, when he first rode it, and was quite worried about what he was going to be able to get out of it, which is obviously I find quite interesting, because it was a brand new bike at the beginning and everyone was hyping it up quite a lot, and there was a lot of I think he was actually, which sort of highlights what the riders say to the press. Because now he's admitted that he hated it, but when it came out at the beginning, everyone was saying about how brilliant this new Honda is, but in reality he didn't actually feel that way.
Well, it's not like riders to lie at the start of the season to the press about how terrible or good their bike is. As a rider yourself, Tristan, if you are, let's say you make a big move to a new team, new bike and all that sort of stuff, you jump on the bike and everyone's expecting good things straight away from you, and it's an absolute turd. Of course, you're not going to say that straight away to the press, are you? You're going to be like, yeah, this is good, learning year for us. And all that. Yeah,
you always try and take the positives away from, or always try and sell the positives as much as you can. It's also for yourself. You're always trying to look to the positives for yourself to give you that hope or that.
How much of a sinking feeling must he have had when he realised the bike was crap?
When he jumped onto it, especially coming off of the Ducati where he was winning races on it probably would have been, like you say, absolutely crushing for him.
I don't know if you remember, like many years ago when Rossi went to Ducati, and it all came out obviously when he left. But he said initially when he got on it on that first test day of Valencia, he said, "Oh God, I've made an absolute horrendous decision here." But when he was actually riding for Ducati, he never said a bad word about it. He was always saying, "Oh, we're working on this. We're working on this to make it better." But I think in his head he knew, "Oh, this is never going to turn out any good."
What are the benefits really, apart from if you feel like you've got nothing to lose? What are the benefits in actually just slagging the bike and the team and the setup and your mechanics? Because I suppose the guys working for you, around you, if you start mouthing off, they're not going to want to do a really good job. They're not going to want to give you the extra, they're not going to want to stay late fixing parts and tuning and tweaking things on the bike, are they, really?
No, well, you're always going to want to have a good relationship with your team, aren't you? Because obviously they're the people who are preparing your bike and getting them out on track and making sure everything's performing to the best it can do. So like you say, that there is no real benefit about. People have done it. If you think back to last year in World Supersport with Randy Krummenacher, where he literally outright said that the team were making the bike slower so that his teammate would win the championship. Because obviously him and Caricasulo were fighting for the championship, and he just completely accused his team of making the bike slower, which then they kicked him out the door at the end of the year, so it didn't work out for him at all. I've never really understood why riders lie so much. Like, I think you can sort of sprinkle over the truth. You can just sell the positives and still sort of say things without, obviously depending what it is, like the Rossi scenario. If you're working or riding for a manufacturer, you need to be talking as well about that manufacturer as you can, because you're essentially a PR machine. But in other areas, you see a lot of riders lying about things they don't necessarily have to.
Well, I suppose, whenever, for me anyway, I can pick up on certain words that riders say, and they can be very easily translated. For example, if you know that a rider's had a really bad weekend, and they in the interview say, "Yeah, it's been a learning weekend." Learning weekend is always traditionally shit weekend. Learning year means really shit year. No offense, Tristan.
Well, I think it depends on the context as well, though, because obviously if you've got a MotoGP rider that's been in the class for 5 years and then comes and tells you they're having a learning weekend when they've obviously had all that experience and they've been there 5 years, they're then covering up that it was a terrible weekend. But obviously if you've got someone who's actually learning, then they will use learning weekend.
Quite true.
Maverick Vinales uses the learning thing a hell of a lot. all the time, because he just you think he's going to be really quick, and then it comes to the race and there's always something that he says, oh, we learned this, we learned that, and it never seems to work out. So he is the most common person to use the learning situation.
Yeah.
Also, going back to the Hondas, I find it really... obviously, it's two different classes and two different rules, but the Irwins got on the Honda straight away, and they loved it. And the first round at Donington, they cleared up, and then Bautista says something like that and says it was a horrendous bike. So it's really weird how two different people, two people found it amazing, and then he thought it was horrendous.
Yeah, well, he's gone on and said that although that's how he felt at the beginning, that now he's convinced the project will be a success. So they've clearly, obviously, adapted that bike, and it was a brand new project at the beginning of the year, we can't forget, but they've now adapted that to be at a point where he thinks it will be a success in the future. And obviously Haslam's done well on it. It's worked really well at BSB compared to it has at World Superbike. So I don't know if it's because of the regulations, or does it suit British tracks better? It'd be interesting to find out why that is.
Well, I think I heard the Irwins say they still even have the standard swinging arm in the bike. They said they've barely touched it, and obviously I would have thought HRC at World Superbikes are trying a lot bigger things, and obviously trying to put all those things together. It hasn't worked out, but I think he got podium at Aragon, didn't he, Bautista? So obviously the bike has started to improve. Hopefully next season they'll be able to take it to the Ducatis, and obviously Johnny on the Kawasaki.
Yeah, we need more manufacturers at the top of World Superbike, really, don't we? Obviously it's quite Ducati and Kawasaki dominated, but you say Kawasaki dominated, it's pretty much just Jonathan Rea who's actually properly putting it in on the Kawasaki, similar to sort of the Marquez situation with Honda, although a few people are getting quicker on that, and we'll touch on that later. But I find it quite interesting that Jonathan Rea is actually the only one making that Kawasaki work. Does that mean the Kawasaki's not the best bike on the grid, and if he was on a Ducati he'd be destroying everyone even more? Or does that mean that it's sort of set up just for his riding style?
How long he's been on it? What I'd say, he's won the championship 5 years in a row now, hasn't he? I think
6. I think
6, has he?
6 in a row.
Has he won it every year he's been on the Kawasaki, or did he have one before? I don't know. Well, he's been on that bike. He's been on that bike a long while now, and obviously the bike has evolved a little bit every year. But when you feel, I don't know. Obviously, I race a lot slower. I've raced a lot slower bikes to him. But when you feel at home on a bike, it's like I said last week, confidence is everything. Obviously, he's been on that bike such a long while, and I just think, he just feels at home on the bike, and it just comes naturally then, doesn't it? And he's obviously an ultra consistent rider, so I think he's going to keep doing it for a few more years yet. I think Scott will take it even closer to him next year, but I still can't see him beating him.
No, it's a really difficult. It's just a difficult man to beat, isn't it? It's not. I don't think it's taking anything away from Scott saying that it's difficult to see him beating Johnny. I think it's more of a compliment to Johnny, because what he's able to do. I mean, he's probably the best rider in World Superbike ever so far. So I mean he's won the most championships now. So to be able to, go and beat him is an extremely high achievement. But obviously Scott is going to be wanting to go and make that happen. And I think with that team behind him, it's very possible.
That year, I think last season with Bautista, how many races did he win on the trot at the start? And
almost all of them at the beginning.
Yeah, I was like, he's done this now. But Johnny just kept coming second every race, and then Bautista had a few crashes, and he brought it back, and I couldn't believe it. I thought, how the hell has he done that?
Yeah, lost his bottle mentality.
Yeah, he's just completely bottled it, didn't he? That's lack of experience of being in that situation, a bit like Nakagami at the weekend, but we'll talk about that in a bit as well.
We will indeed, plus other things. I'm just readjusting certain things, including, but not limited to, weird descriptions that might have popped up on the internet saying this is the Formula Ford 1600 festival from Brands Hatch. It's not. It's just us. And I forgot.
Don't ask me anything about car racing.
And I forgot to change the description of the thing because I was in a rush. Because anyway, it's been a sort of Wednesday afternoon, Domino's pizza kind of afternoon.
I had Domino's at Oxford today.
Oh, yes. What was you doing at Oxford Products? Jamie King signs for Oxford Products Ducati. Everyone, breaking news.
Well, I have heard rumours that they are going to have a second rider next season, but
Jay King to partner Tommy Bridewell.
I'm going to disappoint you.
More likely to partner Ollie Bridewell in the mini
I'm
motos.
sorry to say that's not going to be happening. But yes, I had a lovely day at Oxford today, checking out all the new HJC and Alpine Star gear. So it was very good.
So when you say you heard, was that someone actually there?
There were people at because obviously I mentioned that I'm on a.
I don't want to get you into trouble, but
with Motorsport Media, and they did ask. I said, I've heard the manager has been talking to other riders, and they were pretty much adamant that Tommy's not leaving, so that only leaves one thing really, that they're going to have 2 riders next season.
Interesting. Who might that be? And who should it be? Who deserves the seat, if that is in fact the case?
I don't really know. I'm trying to think of someone who, obviously a lot of people are going to fight for that, because the Ducati obviously is the dominant force in the championship, so there's going to be a lot of people who would like that ride, but I don't know really. Christian Idden has got strong connections with Oxford because they were connected with the old Tyco BMW team, so maybe Christian Idden, if PBM wanted to get another rider in, I don't know. I really don't know at the moment. I've got no leads on that, Lester, I'm sorry.
Total journalism fail, Jay. But I'll send you back to Oxford Products to get some more info on that one. But if you tuned in and you may know, or you've heard something on the grapevine about who might be going to the team, if it is looking increasingly like a 2-bike team, as Steve Wilfmore didn't deny that the other week when Greg Haynes was on, and he revealed that the team are talking to other riders, potentially sparking rumours that Tommy Bridewell might be leaving the team. Turns out now that it actually might just be another rider coming in, as Steve Moore hasn't actually denied or confirmed anything. And I think he, if anybody, is the sort of person who would definitely deny something if it wasn't the case. Just read his,
it'd be good to see another. It's a really good team, so it'd be nice to see another Oxford bike in the mix.
Big hello to people tuned in right now on the internet. Hello to everybody on the BSB and Support Classes fans group. Hello to Nat Jarvis. Chris Brooks, who says, I need some colour as well, Lester. I suppose he's talking about my hair. Thanks, Chris. Thank you very much.
I buy it from Superdrug.
The Marge Simpson range.
Yeah.
I shouldn't. I can't. I've got no authority taking the piss out of people's hair. I mean, I gave up on mine when I was Tristan's age. But since we're talking about hair colour, Tristan.
Yes.
Obviously paying attention. Thanks. Hi.
I am. But what would you like me to tell you about my hair colour?
Oh, nothing in particular. No, there's nothing weird about that.
No, I was born like this.
Well, okay. Moving on. Interesting. Okay, because it was different last. I'm just saying. Whatever.
Oh yeah, it's half of it got burnt and now half of it's black.
That's okay. He's a rebel, doing his own thing, copying other people.
Yeah, that's what we do.
Exactly.
All riders will be doing it soon.
I'm sure they might. Not.
Scott Redding has some funky hairstyles, don't he?
Scott can do whatever he wants.
I'm sure he can.
But can riders in the 600 class get away with doing funky hair colours? I don't know. Maybe
that's what I'm at the back.
Maybe we should ask Jordan Weaving when he comes on shortly. Yeah. Ask him. I think he was the champion in 2016.
Moto3 championship. Moto3 was it? I think.
Let's ask him when he comes on.
Yeah, I'm sure he'll know.
He'd know, if anybody, because we've clearly not done our research on him in the past few years. But yeah, anyway, so this is the Superbike Show. Hello to everybody tuned in on Motorsport Radio, on the BSB and Sport Classes fans Facebook group. This is not Formula Ford Festival. This is the Superbike Show. Hello, good evening, and welcome. Tristan Finocchiaro here, Lester Forbes, hi, and from Domino's earlier. And Jay King as well, and yeah, we were in the middle of talking about World Superbikes, who's going where, what might be happening in BSB. Does everything relate back to BSB? And if so, why wouldn't it? I mean...
Well, I think eventually we will see quite a few English riders maybe make a comeback to British Superbikes, because as I think I said a couple of weeks ago, I think some of the deadwood at World Superbikes needs to be moved on. So I think maybe, like you said, maybe Chaz Davis to OMG could happen. I think Tom Sykes...
I said that. I didn't say it, did I?
Yes, you did.
Did I?
And I think Tom Sykes, I think he's been in World Superbikes a bit too long now. Things haven't improved.
If I said that.
So I think Tom Sykes could maybe make a return to BSB at some day.
I should just probably point out as well, just because I felt really bad at the end of last week's show, because I felt like I sort of overdid it on my criticism of John McPhee, and some people watching...
No, it was very light, Lester.
Might have been... No, it wasn't like me. I actually like John McPhee. I've got a lot of respect for him. And I don't even know why I suggested that he should move onwards. If he's happy where he is, doing whatever he's doing, the occasional podium and win, fair play to him. How old is he now?
Well, I think
40?
that's perfect time to move on to Bradley Smith, another one of your favourite riders, Lester.
He is a fantastic rider, but apparently Aprilia don't seem to think so. Tristan, tell us more.
No, because Savadori is going to be replacing him for Valencia and for Portimao later on in the year. So I'm not quite sure what happened there, but yes, Salvador obviously was riding back in World Superbike with Aprilia as well, so that's where that's come from. And yeah, Bradley Smith not sticking out, that could very well be the end of anything we see in MotoGP for Bradley.
Is that a big shame, Jay? Is that a bit?
Sorry,
is that a big shame for?
He had. I mean, you've got to be a quick rider to be in MotoGP, but yeah, Brad's had a few podiums, hasn't he? I think he'd admit, obviously, being on an Aprilia is not really obviously we've known it's not the most competitive bike in MotoGP.
Was he asking for trouble even being on that bike in the first place?
Well, no, because I think I don't want to make it sound bad for him, but that's probably the only option he had. So I think you would take it, wouldn't you? At the end of the day, if someone offered me an Aprilia MotoGP ride, I'd take it. But yeah, I don't think he could be too picky, really, could he?
Fair enough. Okay. Well, wherever he ends up next, fair play, good luck. Maybe World Superbikes?
No, I reckon we could see him back in BSB. Or back, shall I say? Yeah, maybe. Bradley Smith to BSB.
Bradley
I
Smith
could see him on an OMG bike.
I was just going to suggest that. You stole my thunder, Jay. Anyway, yeah, Brad Smith to OMG. You heard it here first by me. Actually, that might be a decent shout, because Brad Smith...
Now you mention it, I could see it happening.
Yeah, forgetting that you mentioned it first, of course.
Yeah, I'm sticking with that now.
Fair enough. So that's it. We're locking down these predictions, are we? Then Peter Hickman and Bradley Smith, two big names that will grace OMG in 2021, unconfirmed, and probably won't happen.
If you get that one right, I will buy you a KFC.
Yay! I'm
happy with that.
There you go. Watch this space, or maybe his career in MotoGP is not over yet. Maybe he's got some unfinished business, and maybe we might see him doing some...
Bradley Smith has replied to me a few times on Instagram, so I'm going to message him at the end of the show.
There you go. Maybe we can just phone him and get him to come on the show now. He's got now much to do. But anyway, as I lean across, and I have to lean across things now because I had a full day of setting the studio back up, basically, and I won't go through it all, but... yeah, I'm not in my optimal setup, as I think I mentioned earlier, but Yeah. Other final thoughts before we get our next guest on what we were just talking about, Tristan, Jay?
I don't know a lot about Savadori, so I'll leave it to Tristan.
Well, I think it's an interesting call seeing Savadori move across from World Superbike. Obviously, he's always had quite a bit of a good relationship with Aprilia. So seeing that, I mean, it's understandable. He's been their test rider, but it just sort of seems like he's there because they can't really get anyone else. I mean, he went to World Superbike. He did all right. Didn't really set the world on fire, but he's not an obvious name that you would think would come over from World Superbike to MotoGP. But obviously, I mean, he's tested the bike quite a bit. He's doing brilliant things over in the CIV Superbike Championship as well. But yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see, but I wouldn't expect a great deal.
Okay, interesting. All right. We have loads more still to come here on the Superbike Show. This is Motorsport Radio. My name is Lester. Hello. Thank you very much for tuning in. This microphone is really pissed off with it now. Yeah, it's going to fall off one day. It did actually at the end of the show, just after we'd gone off air. But anyway, enough about me and my setup, because we have another fantastic rider who's already achieved the heady heights of Stock 600 championship fame, winning this, whatever, I don't know what I was talking about. Onto the show, please welcome, where is he now? Please welcome Mr. Jordan Weaving. Jordan, can you at all just turn your device a little sideways so we can sort of see you a little better?
Is that all right?
Where can
you see me?
Yeah, we can see you. You're sort of like in sort of portrait mode. If you can, sorry, I'm a little bit arsey with that sort of. You know, sort of sideways. That'll do anyway. Hello, welcome to the Superbike Show.
Apologies
anyway, Jordan. That's we can see you anyway. Thank you for joining us, Jordan. And how have you been anyway? How's life?
Yeah, not too bad to be honest. Just getting really settled for winter now. Still training. I haven't really stopped. It's just been manic, really. Obviously, I've stopped the racing end of Brands Hatch, which was only a couple of weeks ago. So sort of focusing on new things at the moment. So keeping busy.
Okay. Yeah. Talking about that, your racing and your decision to stop. I'm sure. Well, we do have lots of questions. I suppose we can bring Jay and Tristan in on the questions and let them interrogate you. Tristan?
Yeah, sure. I'll go for it. Right. So, firstly, obviously you've announced you'll no longer be racing, which, you know, before I say anything else, is a massive shame. What prompted this decision?
The biggest thing in the sport now is funding. You've got to be in the right place at the right time. You've got to know people, especially with today's circumstances at the moment with coronavirus. A lot of teams, a lot of riders are losing a lot of funding due to coronavirus. So I was struggling anyway before then. Just purely, I think one reason I'm being not a British rider and being a South African rider is a bit hard to sort of get UK funding, if you know what I mean. So I've always done it with my family and that. To move on to the next level, it requires a lot more money. Even riders in superbikes now, you'll see they'll be bringing massive amount of money. And it's getting harder and harder now. And I just sort of come to terms that is coming to a point now where it's either you put yourself in debt or you stop. So that's the best decision I had to make for my family. It was hard, but it was the only one I had to do, really.
Yeah, no, absolutely, that makes sense. But what would you say then about the current situation with coronavirus? What would you say? How would you say that's made funding for racing more difficult?
As you know, a lot of teams, a lot of riders, how they fund it is all through sponsorship. So Unless you're born into a rich family, it's a bit different, but a lot of it is down to corporate sponsors, especially the bigger teams. And having the coronavirus now in place, with all these lockdown procedures, businesses are changing. Obviously, some are benefiting from it, but a lot aren't. So having to cut staff in that, it's a bit ludicrous to sponsor a race team, yet you've got to let staff go. So obviously, a lot of sponsors have been pulling out of teams purely because they've been putting the money back into the businesses to keep them afloat. So that's where the complication has come with coronavirus.
Yeah, of course, and one of the of course, obviously one of the main problems with that is they're obviously going to be looking after their company. So to go and give money to a motorcycle race team isn't at the top of their priorities at the moment. But for those who don't know what sort of costs are involved in racing at a level like Superstock 1000 for the rider themselves, what is involved?
It depends what sort of level you climb in. Superbike, I know some riders have been paying at least 80 to 120k, £1,000. That's a lot of money. Yeah. Superstock is a little bit less than that. If you want a decent ride, it's about 45 to 50. You get some lower teams where you pay a bit less than that, but again, it's like anything. You get what you pay for. The more you pay, the more you're going to get, and the better results you're probably going to achieve. So so it's a lot of money. And then if you're talking MotoGP terms, you're looking at close to £1 million.
And you mentioned obviously Superbike riders, so that's obviously the top level in the UK, and they're still paying for their rides. What sort of level of is that? Sort of people are coming straight into BSB that are paying for their rides, or riders that have been there a few years? Roughly, how many would you, to your knowledge, are paying that kind of money?
I got a feeling, truthfully, I don't know the exact amount. I'd say at least top 10 in that sort of category in Superbike are getting paid. But all the rest, I'd probably say, are bringing money or bringing a large amount of money where they also get a wage out of it. I know Ryan Vickers is one where he's paying for his ride, but also getting a wage out is what I've heard. But still, it's you lose that sponsor. Where do you go next, if you know what I mean? So yeah, it's the same. I was speaking to Brad Binder last year at Silverstone because I grew up with Brad Binder in MotoGP. He's riding in GPs now. And I asked him the question if it's the same in MotoGP, and he said it's the exact same. He says you get the top few that are actually getting paid, but all these other riders are bringing money, and it's just making it harder for actual natural talent to come through.
Was there ever at any point, was there any sort of incentive, or did you ever think that there was any sort of incentive to work towards obtaining a free ride in Stock 1000?
I was always working towards a free ride. There's still maybe options for next year. I know the team I'm currently with now, was with Jones Doring Racing. They are doing everything they can to obtain funding for next year to give me that free ride, purely because they know I won't do it now if I have to put money into it. Don't get me wrong, if I can find a sponsor over winter, I won't rule that out, and I will bring it to a team and sort of go again. But yeah, no, trying to get a free ride is really difficult. I think now if you were a rider back in the day who was professional and struggling, you'd sort of land in that category of a free ride, but it's really rare. Yeah.
Well, what would you say then? Because I mean, it's been spoken about a lot that it's more difficult now than it was. Like you say, it was easier to obtain that free ride. From what do you think is? Why do you think that is essentially?
It's just purely because teams want money now. The sport is changed. Put it this way: it's like if people are willing to pay it, you wouldn't sort of change that. As bad as this sounds, if I was running a team and I knew riders would pay to happily be there, you sort of think, why not? It takes the pressure off your team of having to fund it all, if you know what I mean. But that's what it is. It's just purely because there's people out there who would pay that sort of money. So I think that's why it's sort of gone that way.
Is there anyone in Stock 1000 level? Is there likely to be anyone at Stock 1000 level getting paid?
There would be a few. I think Michael Rutter's team sort of had Richard Cooper on a free ride. I know Morello, they were bringing money, their riders. I'm trying to think if there was actually a few getting paid. I know Honda, Tom Neve. Tom Neve would have been on a free ride. I wouldn't say he'd be getting paid, but he'd definitely be on a free ride. Honda have that level of budget, and they're good to their riders like that. Chrissy Rouse would have been bringing money. So to be honest with you, I'd probably say it's really tough to say if there was actually anyone getting actually good money, getting properly paid for it. Maybe bringing sponsorship and getting a wage out of that way, but I wouldn't say properly fully professional. But I can't comment. I really would not know.
Yeah, of course, yeah. But over the years, there've been, I'd say, many top quality riders that, like yourself, that haven't been able to progress in the sport due to funding. Do you think, obviously, from a rider's perspective, I understand it's difficult to properly know, but do you think there's anything that the sport can do to reduce this?
I think if I know it's been talked about, I think if the series itself cut costs a little bit on like the rules, I think there's a lot of parts involved in racing that makes the cost a lot of it's expensive, if you know what I mean. I think if they could sort of analyse the costs involved and try and cut where they can to make it a bit more affordable, I think you'll start seeing a bit more coming into it, if you know what I mean. It's like MotoGP. You've got these massive amounts of hospitality, and that all costs a lot of money. You know, and it's good to have that because that's what also attracts the sponsors. But there's also a level of degree of engineering involved in MotoGP to have that upper edge, which costs just it's a huge amount of money. So if they sort of capped a little bit on electronics, and I know BSB are getting better. They sort of cut electronics out of Superbikes quite a few years ago, but it's just things like that where that will save a lot of money and help a lot of teams.
Well, also in terms of sponsorship, I mean, I know it's difficult for British riders to move out to World Championships because, I mean, British sponsors to have more incentive to sponsor a rider that's racing in Britain. But obviously for you, that's quite different because obviously you're from South Africa. So what would you say? Has there been any setbacks in that respect in terms of trying to get maybe British sponsors or trying to get South African sponsors to sponsor you to race in UK?
South Africa is very difficult. It's not really a country that supports motorsport a lot. You know, they got motorsport there, but it's not to the level of what it is abroad. To obtain British funding, I have had some real good sponsors who are English. I don't think it's really a nationality thing. I do think it is difficult, but I would say it's more of who you know. Coming to a country, obviously, I don't have family here. I don't have friends. I had to sort of start from scratch. So, you know, you're looking at people's who are in the sport now whose dads probably do business with someone else, and that's how they sort of get the funding. Like I say, it's not what you know, it's who you know. So I think that's where it's a bit of a struggle also. I don't really know a lot of people to sort of put myself out there for that. Even though God knows I've tried. Yeah.
So you're out here then just approaching the sponsors yourself, or do you have someone to do that for you?
No, I've done it a lot myself. I write a lot of emails. I put in a lot of work. I've done my own sort of portfolio, which I sort of send to people. To be fair, I did a lot of my work at the NEC trade show where I go and meet some people, try and talk to them, introduce myself, because an email doesn't go so far these days. I think a lot of it is face to face. Again, coronavirus makes that hard with everything being cancelled and not being able to see anyone. So I have put myself out there.
Yeah, and it's I mean for a lot of people, just sit and watch racing, they won't actually know that a lot of the time it is the riders that going out there and finding the sponsors for themselves to make sure they can get out there and get racing. I think a big common misconception as well is that that BSB riders in all classes just turn up, sort of do what they need to do, get paid and go home, whereas it's most likely the case that on Monday you've got to go back to a job.
Yeah, well, it's the same for me. I when I won my championship in 2016, all the other riders, well, not all of the other riders, sorry, I can't speak for everyone, but like the proper pro riders, they would be having a nice party or anything, enjoying themselves. I went straight off back home and I was up at 6 o'clock straight back to work. That's what it is. But sometimes it takes that sacrifice to go to the top. That's what I mean. I've given up a lot. My family have given up a lot, and to not achieve what I believe we can achieve is the most frustrating thing.
And what will you do now then? Obviously, with no racing.
I've got a few things in mind. All my best friends are military at the moment, so I think I could sort of build a good career in that sort of sector. Or I'd probably follow my dad's footsteps as in sales and sort of start through a business and maybe just grow up through that way. So I've got a few plans in the pipeline. It's just sort of knowing what I want to do. Again, I'm not ruling out racing, although I've sort of said I won't be doing it next year. If that miracle happens, God knows I will try my best to get back out there again.
No, of course. Well, let's say obviously you hope to be back then. But say if there wasn't an opportunity to come back, would you still be involved in bikes and riding in some way?
Personally, I would. Don't take this the wrong way. I don't want to sound horrible, but I think if I was going to be involved in it now, I would probably want to know what I would be sort of getting out of it now after, because it takes a lot of time, a lot of work, you know. When now I'm 23, I think I'm more focused on, I want to build a career now. I want to sort of be able to buy my own house one day. You know, so if I'm keep investing into something where I'm not going to get anything out of it, I think there's no point in doing it. So if I sort of could be involved, but also where I could make a bit of a career out of it, I definitely would. But if I had to keep coming back and sort of torturing myself, thinking, well, if I had the chance, I would be, you know what I mean? I just think if I had to step away, I'd probably step away for good.
Yeah, well, it can be a difficult thing to obviously to balance life outside of racing and racing itself, especially when what you're doing is taking up a lot of your time in terms of making sure you can get the funding, doing all your sponsor work, and training, everything. So, I mean, obviously, it can be a big strain on someone's life. But let's think back to your actual career, or what you've done over the past. Because obviously, we all do it for the same reason. It's the love and passion for it. How has your final year of racing been? Would you say?
It's been good. It's been a struggle because we've been on a 2017 bike, so we've been on quite an old package this year. But it's nice to be the underdog, and I've had to fight for top 10 positions. You know, which to me makes it actually quite fun. Because in general, I really love riding a bike. I could ride all day. And, you know, during sort of sessions and that, when we're struggling, and there was times actually I had to start at the back of the grid purely because we've just sort of, we failed a technical on the grid. Our pressure was too low on the tyre, so we had to be pulled off, and coming from the back of the grid straight to the top sort of it's enjoyable when riding's like that. So, I do love the riding aspect of it.
No, of course. So what would you say the highlights of your career have been?
I'd say definitely when I won my first British Championship in 2014. It was just me, my dad and my brother. We ran our own team. We were up against a bike which was a Grand Prix spec bike. It had all the Delorto system, double discs. It had a bit of engine mods that we didn't have, and we were a complete standard bike. And we managed to win the championship as an underdog. So I really think that was probably the best highlight of my year. Purely because I think we did it as a family. We weren't in anything fancy. The second one I'd probably say is when I won my second championship in 2016. We had a rough start to the year, and because of that rough start, I thought, we weren't going to achieve anything. And sort of once I won my first race, I won the next one, and then I won the next one. Before I knew I was leading the championship. And funny story, in 2014, when I won my first one, I got taken out in the last race, so I didn't really get to celebrate a proper final lap, if you know what I mean.
Okay.
So I think 2016, when I won it the second time, it was really good because I managed to have a proper sort of slow down lap, and really just enjoy the moment. Yeah.
No, you've had some incredible moments. I mean, from when I've been watching Super Sport support races all the way through, it's always been a pleasure to watch you, and it's been a pleasure to talk to you here. I've asked as many questions as I can, and it's been really informative. Thank you.
No, I appreciate you guys having me on the show. Thank you so much, Robert.
So, Jordan, hopefully you've not made a conclusive decision about your career. Maybe it is just a temporary cash flow issue. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe if there's a possibility, if you can get some funds together, maybe for 2022. Maybe, I know it sounds like a million years away, but who knows?
Yeah, that's the thing. You don't know what's around the corner. One door opens, another one. One door closes. Sorry, another one opens. I'll be working hard. If something does come my way, by all means, I'll sort of look at coming back. But yeah, no, I just think that the only problem now is coronavirus, and I think with this carrying on, I won't be the first, and I don't think I'm going to be the last. If you know what I mean. I think there's going to be more dropping out, more teams pulling out. I just think once coronavirus is sort of done and dusted, that's when it will start going back to normal, I think. But at the moment, I think it's going to get harder.
Well, yeah, you're probably very right about. Well, you definitely are very right about that. There's already been some casualties in terms of careers. We've seen some very high-profile BSB team pulling out, and who knows where it's going to end. Hopefully it will end very soon and shortly, but maybe hopefully it's not the last that we'll see of you in the BSB paddock anyway, because as Tristan said, we've enjoyed watching you racing up at the top and doing what you do. So for those, just out of curiosity, if anybody should want to give their support to you, maybe for a future comeback, Jordan, how can they get in touch with you?
You can get in touch through my Facebook page. It's just John Weaving 34. That's the easiest way. It's got my email address, my number on there. So yeah, by all means, just look me up online and you can find me there.
Excellent stuff. All right, well, don't be a stranger anyway, and good luck with whatever it is that you do for next year, and maybe I'm going to say it's not the last that we'll see of you on a bike, so don't be too downhearted just yet. It's the end of the season, everyone's a little bit sort of like, huh. But come March, I'm sure you'll be. Well, I don't know, but good luck. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thank you for coming on the Superbike show, Jordan, and maybe we'll speak again in the future. Thank you very much.
No problem. Have a lovely evening, all. Thank you.
Fantastic stuff, Jordan Weaving, and talking to Tristan, and nice lad, Jamie.
Is he still on? Because I have got a quick question.
Oh, is he? Sorry, I didn't know.
Yeah, still yeah.
Oh, he's still on. Okay. Sorry. Yeah, you got me mid-compliment. Sorry about that, Jordan. Yeah, go on.
All right,
go on,
Jordan,
Jamie.
nice to speak to you. Obviously, you've been in the British paddock for a lot of years now, and like the other guy said, we hope it's not the end of us seeing you. But are you going to struggle? Like, I've always enjoyed my racing, and I still race now at a lot lower level. But do you think you'll struggle coming out of that, like that bubble that is racing? Like a lot of the fans think at the end of the last round, that's it, it's all over, and you don't start again till March. But obviously, like you said, you have to go out, you look for the sponsors, and you start again. So do you think that's are you going to find that hard that it no longer happens anymore? Or are you actually quite happy that you haven't got that stress anymore of having to find sponsors and do it all again?
Personally, what really woke me up this year regarding the racing was when we had lockdown and nothing happened, no motorsport. I was sort of out like doing my cycling, and I love like paddleboarding and just sort of enjoying the nature side of things and enjoying life a bit more. And I didn't really, as bad as it sounds, I didn't really miss the racing. So it sort of gave me a bit of a wake-up call, as in, there's more to life out there than just racing a bike every day. Don't get me wrong, I'll still be riding. I got my own bike, track bike, so I'll be doing track days and, just keeping my eye in just so I don't suffer from skill fade. So if I did have to compete again, at least I wouldn't be too far behind.
Yeah.
But yeah, I personally... not having the pressure and that to do that at the end of the year now, I think it's going to be nice. I think I can just sort of focus on myself now, and I think it will be sort of a good winter. But come March, probably I'll give you.
You'll get that buzz back again. I should be there.
But yeah.
Yeah, so all right, cheers, Jordan. Thank you for that.
No problem. You have a lovely evening. Thanks, guys.
Thank you
Cheers.
very much.
Cheers.
And thank you once again for coming on the show, Jordan. And this is the Superbike Show. It is Motorsport Radio. Thank you very much for tuning in. If you've just found us for the first time ever, you're wondering who are those people with the weird hair. My name's Lester.
You're the one with the weird hair.
Yeah, because I'm normal. That's the word. Yeah, there goes my smile for the day. So this. I'm arguing with this microphone all the way through that interview. Sorry, should have heard me swearing at it. So Tristan Finocchiaro right here, there.
Yes.
And he's undecided about what hair colour he should have, so he decided.
So I went for two.
Two.
Might be three next week.
A multicoloured emo. If there can be such a flamboyant such thing, I don't know. And Jay King, aka Sonic, Pitbike Sonic, of all things, who will be gracing the Linden Hill stage on his what bike are you on again this weekend in your endurance thing?
Mallory Park.
Mallory, where did I say?
Honda CBR 125.
What am I thinking of? Linden Hill. I'm thinking of the Lord of Linden, aren't I?
Yeah, that was last week, wasn't it?
Duh. I knew that. Okay, fair enough. Just goes to show that I don't know anything at all.
It should be a good day's race, and obviously we've got the shorter days now, so hopefully there's not too many red flags, because we haven't got any lights on our bikes, so that could be a bit interesting if it keeps going into darkness, because I think it's dark by about 4:30 now, isn't it?
Yeah, it was. I stepped out of the house at 4:30. I was like, what the hell?
Trying to repair the van, maybe.
Thank you, yes. Thank you for that. Thank you. Just another
Take every opportunity to remind him, don't you?
I know. Shouldn't buy a French van.
Anyway, shut up. So we.
What next, Lester?
What next, Tristan? I don't know, because I was fumbling around over here doing some other stuff and listening to what Jordan was saying, and I did have a question for him, but I think you asked it instead, Tristan. So well done to you. I just found it interesting that this thing's pissing me off. I just found it interesting that he said he found it harder to look or try and get sponsorship because he's not a British rider. But he answered that. So there you go. Which I found interesting, but anyway. So there you go, Jordan Weaving. Maybe not a name that we will miss from the grid in 2021. Maybe he'll be back. Who knows? Tristan, what is next? Because I've deleted my notes.
Well, I think we should talk a little bit about MotoGP next, considering that's the.
We've actually never talked about MotoGP on the show. Did you know that since we've been doing this? Oh, we talked a little bit about it.
Well, there's the Superbike show, not the MotoGP show.
Well, there's been so much happening in BSB, that's why.
Yeah. To be fair, we've had some rammed shows, so we've had a hell of a lot to talk about. But now we have a hell of a lot of MotoGP to talk about, because we've rammed a document full of notes here for us to talk about. So, if we get started with Aragon at the weekend. Possibly not the most interesting race that there has been.
You said
this year. That's what Jay said.
To be fair, the MotoGP racing's been really, really good this season, but this race was a bit of sorry to upset Formula One fans, but a bit of an F1 race.
Whoa! Yeah, fair enough.
A few more overtakes than a Formula One race, I think, Jay.
Yeah, I know.
This is going to fall off.
There's more overtakes in the mini F1 sidecars than there is in the Formula 1 race.
Whoa!
Yeah. Hopefully we don't have any Formula 1 fans watching.
No, it's not like we've got... Anyway. MotoGP was...
There's been better.
There's been better MotoGP
But
weekends.
The championship has closed up even more.
What was good about MotoGP? What was good about the race? Tell us, Tristan.
Well, there's always interesting points, though, isn't there? And Morbidelli won the race, which I was quite happy to see because I like him. It's his second win of the season as well. He led from start to finish. He completely dominated, and I found that quite interesting because the week before he was quick. I think he was about 5th, but in that race he just completely dominated, didn't he? Yeah.
As soon as Nakagami crashed, no one could get near him. So it was a bit of, I wouldn't say it was a surprise win. I was thinking Rins was going to do it again, but he was catching him mid-race, but towards the end Rins he didn't have the pace for him. So Morbidelli made it look quite easy in the end. So he's closed the championship in even closer now, because Quartararo, I think he was 8th, wasn't he? Was he? I don't know.
Yes, I believe 8th. Yeah.
Yeah, and obviously Dovi had another stinker. So it's closed the championship even more now, and it seems to be Morbidelli that has the upper hand now. Where last week we probably would have said Mir had the upper hand, but it's just toing and throwing everywhere at the moment. I have no idea who's going to win this championship because it's just all over the place at the moment.
Yeah, well, he's 4th in the championship at the moment, but like I said, only 25 points behind Mir, who now leads the championship, which is significant because that's a race victory. So let's say Morbidelli wins the next race, Mir crashes, Mir's no longer leading the championship, but at the same time he's got to get through 3 other people as well as Mir, because there's 4 people in front of him in the championship. I think he's about 6 points behind Viñales, and 11 behind Quartararo, so he's not far from his teammate at all. And he could catch Mir if it stays like this, but then obviously he's got to beat all the others. But then 3 rounds to go, anything can happen really.
Especially with the last round being at a track that no MotoGP bike has been round yet, so you have no idea. The Aprilia might be brilliant round Portimao or the KTM, so that last round is going to be very weird, but we'll see.
Yeah, it's going to be completely new to everyone, isn't it? Obviously, they're going to be probably looking at World Superbike footage to get an idea of the track, because obviously they've been going there for a while now as well. And obviously we've got 2 before that. We've got 2 rounds in Valencia, where we've seen Yamaha go well in the past, so that could go in Morbidelli's favour, but also Quartararo is also on a Yamaha, and Viñales is also in front of Morbidelli, so that could be. But we've also seen Hondas go well there as well. Yeah. Probably not going to be a Ducati track, and if you look at the history of it,
I think we can put Dov, even though he still potentially can do it. He just don't look up for the. I don't know how he's still in it, because his results haven't been that great, but he just doesn't look like he's up for the fight really. I don't think him or the team are. I think, apart from Zarco at the weekends, all the Ducatis were near the back.
Yeah, and he said a few things as well about not being confident enough, and we'll touch on those a little bit later as well. But also having Morbidelli win that race, and then having a look at where Quartararo finished, you're going to think, well, Quartararo's meant to be on the better bike, so why is he down there?
Maybe, I don't know. It's been the last
learning weekend.
Last week at Aragon, he did have problems, didn't he? Because he dropped back.
He finished the race in 18th, didn't he?
Yeah, I can't remember what problems they said they had with the bike, but apparently there was something up with it. And then, a bit like this weekend again. Obviously, he didn't drop back as quick, but he still lost quite a few positions near the start of the race.
Yeah, the championship's really slipping away.
He seems to be going the same as the Maverick, because if you remember when Maverick first went to Yamaha, no one could get near him. He was winning every week, and Quartararo last season was the only person who really could get anywhere near Marquez. Yeah. So it just seems to be the same sort of thing again, really. I don't know if losing the confidence in the bike or what, but it's just the way it is at the moment.
Yeah, I think the only difference with that scenario is I think all the Yamahas sort of got a bit slower when Viñales got slower, whereas in this situation you've got Morbidelli, who's now at the top, and still in the same team as well on the older spec bike. Well, he's on the 2019 spec bike but with upgrades, whereas Quartararo's on the 2020 spec, which I believe Quartararo said there's not a great deal of difference between them. He said one thing he did say actually as well, which I found quite interesting, that he's reaching a level with the bike early in the first, when there's a back-to-back round, he's finding sort of the potential of the bike, or he's finding where he's strong with the bike very early on, and not really improving as the weekend goes on, and then into the next weekend. So when they've had back-to-back weekends, everyone's improved when they got to the second weekend. So obviously, having Aragon one week and then the next, when they got to the second round of Aragon, all the bikes had pretty much improved, and in fact the race was a lot quicker, and that's why Rins couldn't stay on Morbidelli, because his tyres wore more than it did the week before, because Morbidelli was able to push that on even further. So Morbidelli was able to take the bike from one week and push it even further in the next, or push himself and the bike even further in the next and improve, whereas Quartararo said he wasn't able to do that.
Yeah, to be honest with you, I find it really amazing with these back-to-back races, how the results change so much. I was expecting in the start of the season it would just be like the same results in each races, but the KTMs one week can be really good, and then the next week they can be right at the back. It's unbelievable. And like last year, the Aragon was known for being a Ducati track, and you look at them now, and they're all at the back. So it just shows how things can change in just 1 week. It's remarkable, really. That, like we say, that one click on the suspension and everything's suddenly perfect, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Tristan, Nakagami. What's going on with him?
Well, he's in the race we saw. I mean, he did so well at that weekend, didn't he? I mean, he was just absolutely dominating every practice session, every qualifying session.
Even warm-up, he was pole.
Yeah, started the race from pole, and then crashed out on the first lap. It was turn 4, turn 3 or 4. And that would have been really interesting to see what he could have done, because obviously, I mean, top in qualifying, top in free practice only takes 1 lap, and then obviously to then do it in a whole race is a completely different story. So it would have been interesting for me to see how he could have converted that after completely dominating like he did. I mean, his best results so far have been 4th. Be interesting to see what he can do at the next few rounds. Will he be able to get that first podium, or is it just strong at one circuit? Was it Aragon? Because we did see Aragon was a bit of a Honda circuit.
Yeah, obviously Alex Marquez, he crashed out as well, but obviously he had a really good race at the first Aragon meeting, and I think he probably would have got a podium in the second one last weekend if he had stayed on. So yeah, the Honda, it did seem favour the Hondas a lot, and obviously it's a bit of a home track for Alex Marquez as well, so he would have wanted to do really well, but he surprised me as well. I think he got a lot of criticism at the start of the season for getting the ride just because he's Marquez's brother, and I think he's quietened a few critics now, and I think Crutchlow's team, LCR, will be looking forward a lot to having him next season.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, with Alex Marquez as well, the team seem really happy with what he's been able to do. I mean, Emilia Alsamora, Alex's manager, said that they're really satisfied with his improvements, that he's surprised the team in a really good way, and he's improving faster than they thought he would. Yeah. Which, I mean, he did really well at Aragon, and also getting that podium at Le Mans. But he also explained actually as well that they've been treating the race weekends like tests, because he's learning. It's his learning year in the class. They've been treating it more like tests than actual race weekends, just to enable him to learn and improve. But for me, I think he needs to do it at a couple more circuits first before we can actually say that he's clicked. I don't want to get too excited about him now, because obviously he's gone well at Aragon. Both Marquez's have always gone very well at Aragon. Aragon seemed to be a bit of a Honda circuit as well. Yeah, he got that podium at Le Mans, but that was wet, so it was strange conditions. Before we can properly say that he's clicked with the MotoGP bike and he could future be a title contender, I think we need to see him do it a bit more consistently. Yeah,
Valencia is. I would say that Valencia is probably one of the most rider tracks on the calendar, because it is I like to call it a bit of a go-kart track. So it'd be good to see how he does there, because like you said, the Honda has normally done well at Valencia as well. So I think, maybe it'd be on for possibly a few top 5s at Valencia. We'll see. But you just can't predict anything in this MotoGP season. I would have thought we might. I think we will probably get another different winner before the end of the season.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah, no, absolutely. No,
I think Mia's going to need to win a race to win the championship. So I think there should be another winner before the end of the season.
Yeah, and moving back to Nakagami again. Obviously, we've covered both the Honda guys. He's actually just before the weekend he did it. He's recently signed a multi-year agreement with Honda, not with LCR, with HRC. So that's including one more year with LCR Honda. So that's part of the agreement. He's going to be staying another year with LCR. But then they haven't actually said whether he's getting the latest spec Honda or not. But I'm sure that'll be dealt with later down the line because he's been on the year-old bike this year. But now he's got a multi-year. It doesn't actually say how many years, but a multi-year contract with LCR that possibly could have relaxed him a little bit going into the weekend at Aragon.
I think. Well, I don't know. Yeah, maybe a little bit, but obviously, I think Hodgson said it perfect in the commentary before the race that he was last going to the grid on the warm-up lap, and that he looked nervous. Like from all my racing, what I've done, I've always gone pretty quick on the warm-up lap because it's not so much keeping your tyres warm. I just like to get kind of in that race mood before I get to the grid. So yeah, Hodgson said it perfect that he looked nervous, and obviously he's never been in that situation before. I think if he had got through the first 5-6 laps and stayed in the lead, I think he would have gone and won, because if you look at previous races, he's always been a rider that has come better towards the end of the races. So I think if he had just held his nerve for those first few laps, I think he would have gone on and won. But Morbidelli's pace was pretty quick, so
yeah.
I think it maybe would have been a close race, which then I think Morbidelli would have won because he's had that situation already.
Yeah, I can see that.
Well, what do you think if you're tuned in, listening either live or on demand, or you've downloaded the show? Your thoughts on Nakagami? Does he have what it takes? Is he? I don't know. Is he potential world champion material? I
think Honda would like to think so, because I think Honda would love to see a Japanese rider doing well on a Honda. I think that's the reason. No disrespect to him, but I think there are better people who should have that ride. But I think they want to see. Who? Obviously, they want to see a Japanese rider doing well on a Japanese bike.
Who would be better suited on that?
Obviously, I think we're going to go on to it in a bit, but it would be nice to see Sam Lowes get a proper chance in MotoGP. Obviously had it before, but I don't think, unless you, going back to Bradley Smith, unless you haven't got a choice there, no one wants to ride that Aprilia.
Well, I don't know. I'm trying to be diplomatic and not say anything at all. If you've got nothing good to say, don't say anything. That's my...
You love Bradley Smith?
I do, actually. I do like Bradley Smith. And he was one of the very first people I ever interviewed as a young, aspiring journalist at MotoGP 2012, I think, or 2013. So it had been on the... He was in Moto 2, I think, at the time.
Oh, it did. I was... Yeah. Something. I saw his levers in Oxford today, in his Tech 3 levers. Like, not him, but the levers were there.
Okay. Did you stroke them?
Yes, yeah. All of the levers. Yeah. Even Lorenzo's levers were there.
Fair enough. Okay. I don't know what to... okay, fair enough. I don't know what to say.
That's the point. How come Lorenzo didn't take Rossi's ride at Aragon? You would have thought he'd been given a chance, wouldn't you?
Apparently, in testing, he was crap. That's what I heard. Okay. Is that accurate?
He was good at the beginning, wasn't he? He had those first few initial tests, and he seemed well on the bike. But but that last test they had, he apparently just didn't seem comfortable.
He was like 4 years off the pace.
Because he was before obviously all this stuff happened. He was meant to have some wild cards this year, wasn't he? I believe.
Yeah, there was one set up for Barcelona, wasn't there?
Yeah. So I was a bit of a Lorenzo fan, so I wanted to see him come back.
Was? Are you not still?
Sorry?
Are you not currently a Lorenzo fan?
Well, he doesn't ride anymore, does he?
Well, you can still be a fan.
Oh.
Or has he disappointed you?
No, not a true fan.
Have you fallen out of love with him? Oh, Jay.
No, he's probably still a top bloke, but obviously he's not really in the.
He's tuned in
the
now, obviously, and he's thinking, "Oh, I just lost Jay as a fan. I thought I had him."
Alex Rins is the man now.
Oh, okay, fair enough. Hello to Vince Bailey, by the way, who's tuned in, or was at one point. Says, "Evening, guys." Hello, Vince.
Moto Team Rider.
Moto Team Rider, and a great one at that. Hey.
Yes.
But going back to Moto GP anyway. Cal Crutchlow.
I don't know what to say, really.
Yeah.
I think
he recently had something.
He's going to Aprilia now.
Yeah, there was a strong rumour with that. Obviously, there's only 2 seats left now in MotoGP for 2021, Aprilia and Avintia. And there are rumours that Cal has pre-signed an agreement that would come into force if Andrea Iannone didn't or can't ride in the 2021 season, which, let's be honest, is looking kind of likely. But obviously, I mean, if this is true, this leaves Dovi without a ride. So does that mean he goes to World Superbike? And for Aprilia to not run Iannone, or for Aprilia anyway, it depends very much on what Iannone is doing. And I think the latest news on that is that there'll be no final decision on when he can ride again until November.
I think Aprilia is the only place Dovi can go now, because I don't think even Ducati would really want him with the Avintia team. I know it's a different team, but I think
it's sort of burnt a bridge with Ducati.
Yeah, I think it's done for him there. So I think it's Aprilia or nothing, really, or he has to kind of swallow his pride and go down to World Superbikes. I don't think Dovi would do that. I think he'd be the sort of rider who would say, probably call it a day now. Then he's probably earned a fair good wage the years he's been in MotoGP now, so I think he would probably call it.
Yeah, I mean, if it is true that Carl has this pre-signed agreement that would come into force if Iannone doesn't do it, that would leave Dovi without a ride. So that would be interesting to see how that pans out, because obviously, like you say, I mean, he could end up at Avintia, because I wouldn't say Avintia is the strongest, has the strongest relationship with the factory as maybe some of the other teams on the GP grid. No. But I think, I agree
with
you.
Give Zarco a good bike this year, didn't they? Because Zarco at the start of the year didn't want to go to Avintia because he thought, no, I don't really, because they were the back 2 riders all the time, weren't they? So they gave Zarco a good enough bike to do all right. So
yeah, and that's interesting as well, because he's on the old bike, isn't he?
Yeah.
And now that old bike is doing better than the new one.
Yeah, Zarco was the best rider at the weekend. So.
Mm-hmm.
Could we even see someone in BSB, some more MotoGP rejects, maybe?
Yeah, like we spoke about it, like Bradley Smith maybe could make an appearance in BSB. I think that would be the most likely one. I can't see Dovizioso dropping all the way down to BSB, but
but it's okay for Bradley to drop all the way down to BSB. I don't see it as a drop down. I see it more as
not at all.
Extending your career.
I'm sure Brad wouldn't see it as a drop, but I think Dovizioso probably would.
It's interesting that we put our impressions of certain people. I mean, yeah, it's just interesting. I don't know.
Yeah,
maybe he'd love BSB. Maybe BSB might reinvigorate his career, like Scott Redding.
Yeah. Well, I think Stuart Higgs is going to have to probably put his hand in his wallet to get.
You're okay. You can retire. Go away. Yeah, that'll do. Yeah, we'll take you, Brad. Don't worry. Tough one for Crutchlow. Snapping his shoulder. Sounds like a weird one.
That is a weird one, isn't it? I mean, apparently during that, we know he's been having injury problems this year. But apparently during the actual Grand Prix, he felt a snap in his shoulder on lap 6.
The start. Oh, was it? I thought
on lap 6 is what I heard. Yeah.
I thought it because he got. I'm talking about the first Aragon. He got a really good start, and then the clutch slipped or something like that, and then he dropped back. I thought it was through that, but I might be wrong.
No, it was on change of direction between. He said it was on change of direction between turn 3 and turn 4 on lap 6, when he sort of felt a snap in his shoulder, and just ploughed through the reins. Apparently.
I also heard. I don't know if it's true that he went for his COVID test, and he tripped up on the step of the door on the way out, and he hurt himself doing that as well.
I heard that he went for his COVID test and coronavirus ran away from him because he's such a...
The hard nails.
Yeah, I heard he injured himself getting his coronavirus test.
Oh, he's had all sorts of injury this year, hasn't he? He's put a lot of graphic images on Instagram as well. But yeah, he said initially when it happened that he slowed down because of the pain. I mean, if something happens, you feel a snap in your shoulder, it's probably going to hurt. But eventually the adrenaline took over and he was all right until he got back off the bike.
Yeah.
He was like, you bastard.
But I mean, he's going to have an MRI scan on it now. So it'll be interesting to see what that was and what snapped in his shoulder.
I'm very surprised if he goes to Aprilia. I'll be very surprised because obviously Cal's been in the championship long enough. He knows the Aprilia is the least competitive bike on the grid. I don't know why he would want... like we said, it is very hard for riders to say, right, that's the end of the day. I'm going to finish it there. But I don't know why you would do it, really, just to be like around the back all season. But,
it's addictive. Maybe that's the only reason.
I totally understand, and I race kids' Chinese bikes, so I know how he feels.
Maybe that's what he'll be doing next year then.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Pit bike 40s.
If anyone is out of a ride or down on their luck from either BSB, World Superbikes, or MotoGP, or
I have a ride going next season.
Jamie King has a ride going next year. He'll sort you out. It'll be cushy. Job's a good one.
It had a few outings this season and did very well, so it is a capable bike.
You may even want to try your hand at some
moto team,
or maybe even mini moto. Maybe that'll be.
Yeah. I could see Cal on the senior mini moto grid with the Birkins.
Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't
shoulders there.
You wouldn't even need like shoulder pad things because he's just metal, isn't he? So,
or maybe Cal lives in the TT. Maybe we could see him do it, or lives in the Isle of Man. Maybe we could see him doing the TT.
I think he's moved now, hasn't he? I think he's moved to America. Yeah.
Well, he did say, I think it was last season with an interview with Susie Perry, like he just wanted to. That's what made me think this year would be his last year, because he did make it sound like he's ready to like family time and things like that and chill out in America. But obviously, by the sounds of it, he's going to go for one more year.
Who knows? Just an interesting question, though, Tristan. How much pain have you been in when you've been riding?
That's a good question.
It is.
I don't think I've really ever had to plough through pain in a race.
Would you, though? If you like snap your shoulder, would you be like, ah?
Yeah, I think for anyone, your natural instinct is to keep going, unless it's
not me
really unbearable. But if you were a racer, you would. I mean, it's just what you do. If something happens, you keep going. Unless you really have to pull out, then you keep going, because it's only natural. Obviously, you've put a lot of hard work into being.
Unless a limb has fallen off. Then,
unless a limb has fallen off,
and even then,
you keep going to the end. Yeah.
I mean, you don't really need a leg, do you? Really, I suppose.
Because then you can come in and complain about your pain, and then that's your excuse for not doing so well.
There you go.
I crashed on I think it was a Saturday practice, and my dad basically said, "Get up, you old woman. You can carry." He obviously paid a lot of money for my entry fee and things like that, and he said, just get up, you're fine, there's nothing wrong with you." I remember I was bawling my eyes out. I was in so much pain. He said, "No, you can carry on." It sounds really bad on my dad, but he made me carry on racing all weekend. Luckily, all the races were wet, so it didn't put a lot of pressure on my wrist. But then we went to the hospital, and I broke my wrist in two places.
And that was just 2 weeks ago, ladies and gentlemen.
I have ridden with broken arm as well. That was pit biking though. And what I did, I couldn't pull the clutch in. So what I did is I made the gearing on the bike, so I didn't have to change gear all the way around.
Interesting.
That's clever thinking, that.
I'm sure lots of other people I've ridden with.
It revved out quite a bit, but it worked.
Yeah, knowing. Yeah, I think that's quite a common one, racing with a broken arm or collarbone.
Just loads of painkillers, and you'll be fine.
Yeah,
we better just talk about Sam Lowe's before we go, because that's a pretty topic.
Sam Lowe's, is he moving up? Is he a go? Is he? He's pretty hot at the moment.
Yeah, he's making Moto2 look quite easy at the moment. Carry on, Tristan.
Yeah, no, you crack on. Yeah, Lowe's has won. He won, didn't he?
Yeah, that's 3 on the bounce now, isn't it? So, my forecast looks right. I think he's going to go on to win the championship now. Confidence is high.
Don't jinx it.
Yeah, it's looking good.
Yeah, last thing you want to do is jinx it. But yeah, I mean, he dominated all weekend, didn't he? I mean, from every practice session. And I remember watching him practice. You saw him. He'd go out and set a time faster than anyone else, and then he'd match it the next lap, and then do one like a tenth slower. So you could tell that he was going to have that pace in the race. He's now championship leader by 10 points over Bastianini. Bastianini's still strong though. He got third, and I mean, it's going to be tough to beat him with only 10 points and 3 rounds to go. But if he continues this sort of form on, then I mean he's going to be a tough nut to crack. Yeah,
I think going back to Bastianini, I think he is the favourite to get that Avintia ride at the moment from the rumours that I've heard.
Yeah, there was rumours putting him to it, and there was rumours putting someone else as well. But it's been a little bit unclear with that Avintia one, isn't it? I think it was, but yeah, I think Bastianini was set for it at least at one point.
Yeah. So yeah, Lowe's to win the championship. I think it's going to happen now.
But let's say Lowe's does win the championship. It's not really going to. I mean, obviously, he's going to want to be world champion. Every rider wants to be world champion, but it's not. It won't do him any favours in terms of.
There's nowhere to go.
There's nowhere to go in MotoGP because there's no seats.
Yeah.
And he's on a 2-year contract as well with Estrella Galicia, so he'll be back with them next year. Could very well do what Zaka did, win it twice and then move up.
Yeah. But I think Tito Rabat did 2 years with that team, because I think I remember him having the number 1 plate on that bike. So I think I said earlier before we came on air that I think next year if he's going to have to stay in Moto2. I think whether he wins it the next year or not, that needs to be the time he has to move up to MotoGP. Mm-hmm. So hopefully he'll get the chance again and not on an Aprilia.
Yeah. Well, like you say, he's had the chance before. The thing is, when there's so little seats, and there's so many names competing for those seats. Our team's going to look at someone who's already been in MotoGP and didn't do that.
Yeah, I think we spoke about that with Scott Redding when everyone was talking about who's going to get the Ducati rides. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're right. You don't know. Next season when Lowe's have the number 1 plate on, hopefully, Dixon might have an incredible season and he'll put himself ahead of Lowe's. So you don't know, do you? So I would like to see Dixon get a chance as well. And I think Dorna would always want to have a British rider in the MotoGP. So, I think maybe Dixon would probably be one they'd be looking at next. But obviously, he's got to carry on his performance into next season now.
Oh, and he's signed now, hasn't he? He's signed.
Yeah. Yeah. He's got So he needs to have another good solid season with Petronas next year. He really needs to look at maybe putting a championship challenge ahead.
Yeah. No reason why not.
And it isn't totally out of the question, because just because someone is in a contract at the moment, or say at the start of the season, people get injured, of course, people fall out with their team, they have disagreements, things could change mid-season. We might see some surprises, which might mean that there could possibly be, I know it's a real outside possibility, 2 Brits in MotoGP. Possibly. I don't know.
Hopefully it'd be nice. Obviously we're putting a lot of work at this precise moment in getting more young English talent up there with the British Talent Cup and that. And I think we've got a lot of good youngsters coming through at the moment. So, but I think we've got a bit of a gap till them guys get to that point at the moment. Well,
I think it's this weekend. The CEV, or the European Talent Cup.
Casey out there.
Yes, Casey O'Gorman also.
Johnny Garness is out there as well with the same team.
Johnny Garness and someone else who just names escaping my mind. Josh Watley as well. He's racing in the thing category, basically. And also
the higher class.
Yeah. Also, one person, if you're tuning in on the internet, we might retweet it on Motorsport Radio, will be making his commentary debut, Kiko Giles, this weekend. Yes, I know for a fact he's been waiting many, many years to do this. Since his last commentary, well, it was actually at Alton Park for No Limits a couple of weeks ago, but his last online commentary was at Fab Racing in 2018. He's literally waited like 2 years for that opportunity, and this weekend I believe he'll be with Steve English, I think, commentating. Where are they? I don't know what track.
Valencia.
So I'll make sure, if I remember, to retweet that, and we can all tune in and listen to Kiko Giles trying desperately not to sound like Keith Ewan. Because he did when he was commentating at Fab. Anyway, it was.
No one wants to sound like Keith Ewan.
Whoa! Don't. It was.
Keith Ewan and Jules. Them two together. That they were my favourite commentators back in the day.
Well, they're still both good.
Julian Ryder. But Julian Ryder seems to be doing quite a lot of World Superbike stuff now, doesn't he?
Yeah. That's another topic for another day, commentators, and something that I know a lot of people have a lot of opinions of.
Yes.
And that's, maybe we'll save that for next week. Commentators, which ones are good, which ones are bad, who will you have?
They're all
Jamie
good.
Whittam's the best.
They're all good. They all work so hard.
Jamie Whittam.
Anyway, as I said, it's a topic that a lot of people have got an opinions on. Just quickly before we go, we mentioned it earlier, of course, the Moto America champ heading to Moto 2. Of course, I knew that all along. But Tristan, you got more info.
Yeah, Cameron Berbier moving to Moto2 for 2021, which it was an announcement that came out of nowhere. Maybe it was doing the rounds over in America, but it sort of took me by surprise anyway. He's signed for the America Racing Team, which is a team designed to bring on American talent. And I mean, he's probably one of the hottest American talent coming. Would be two-time America champion, I believe he is now. Replacing Joe Roberts, who's moving on, I believe, to the IO team. But it'll be completely different for him. Different tracks, different bikes, different style of riding. And we've seen how difficult that step is. We saw Jake Dixon do it from BSB. It's a similar sort of step. Has that signing been inspired by Dixon because he's now doing well? And will this pave a way for more Superbike riders to come through? Maybe BSB riders to come through?
Jay, how might he do? He sort of dominated Moto America this year. How might he do in Moto 2?
I hope he does well because, like I've said before, I do like an American rider. I think they're very passionate, or they are in most things they do, but they are very passionate about their sport.
Yeah, why not?
I hope he does well. Like Tristan said, there hasn't been really many riders that have come that route. Obviously, Crutchlow did. He came through British Superbikes and all that and went straight into MotoGP. Most of the British riders have, really. You think even way back to James Toseland, he came from World Superbikes and went to MotoGP. So it can be done. But like Tristan says, it's a lot of tracks to learn. Obviously, he's been in America all his life, so it's not just being around the tracks, it's all the different cultures you've got to learn and things like that. So it's going to be a lot to learn in that first year. And as we said earlier, you've just got to take that first year as a learning year. So
learning year, shit. Learning year. And next year will be better. Can you have a learning haircut? Learning. I don't know.
I'm learning how to cut it myself.
I'll die.
Your life has been a learning haircut, hasn't it, Lester?
I gave up on my hair many, many decades ago. So I'm just grateful a little bit just still remains, and it's just there. It's whatever. I'm never going to lead with style or talent. I give it up. There's just some things in life you just realise you just...
Yeah.
Anyway. Whatever. I don't know, maybe comments flooding in all the time about Tristan requesting different various hair colours. Gareth Hall, commentator a couple of weeks ago, said maybe he should get involved in the hair colouring of just inspired mostly by Tristan. I think he was a bit jealous.
I think he should.
He should.
He was going to bleach it, wasn't he?
I don't know. Maybe he should get it Motorsport Radio Gold.
Didn't one of you say it was to cover his greys?
Yes.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I didn't. Well, yeah. I mean,
self-conscious about
clearly I'm not, but yeah. I don't know. Maybe do what you want, kids.
I didn't say that, Gareth. I've never noticed your greys.
No, it's definitely not prominent at all. Anyway, that is just about the end of the Superbike show. No, in fact, that definitely is the end for this week. Thank you very much for tuning in, and we will be back next week, will we? Because we've got loads of stuff to talk about. Even though there is no BSB, there is still lots of gossip, because we'll be talking about all the stuff that OMG will no doubt helpfully release and announce minutes before we go on
should
air.
have one, shouldn't we?
Should we? Well,
we should have one rider announced, shouldn't we?
Yeah,
hopefully.
Hopefully.
I'll get onto them. I'll say hey up.
And Bradley Smith to be the second one.
Let's make contact with Brad and get him announced on that OMG bike. Maybe if we have somehow inspired OMG to put in a call to Bradley Smith, then let's consider that a victory. I don't know, but let's find out next week what happens on the Superbike show. John is again next Wednesday. Yes, because I'm not doing anything that Wednesday, because it's the end of the season for most of us here. Thank you very much, Tristan Finocchiaro. What will you be doing between now and next week?
I'll be preparing for the next Superbike show, of course, Lester.
Getting drunk?
No, don't do that.
Studying?
Don't do that either.
No. And Jay King, what will you be doing between now and next Wednesday?
I'll be hopefully having a successful 6-hour endurance race and not recovering from any injuries, hopefully. But like I said, it's going to be carnage.
And you're going to film it and take some videos and
yes, there will be a vlog for it, as
of course
usual.
There will. Yes.
Pitbike
Excellent.
Sonic, subscribe.
Yes, Pitbike Sonic. Also, as well, Tristan, it's only fair to promote yourself since you're here. How can people get in touch with you and give you lots of money to help your 2021 season?
Quite easily. I mean, just type my name on any social media and you'll find me. It's quite an unusual name, Tristan Finocchiaro. I mean, there's no one else really with that name. But yeah, Instagram, I believe it's Tristan Federico Finocchiaro. It's a long
simple name,
but you'll find it.
Exactly.
Same on Facebook, same on Twitter. I think my Twitter handle's @SpagBug58. So
yeah, I mean,
nice and easy to find.
Definitely.
No good for the dyslexic viewers.
Exactly. So thank you very much for tuning in. That is it. Thank you, and well, that's it. I don't have any fancy jingles this week. It's almost like a podcast. Thank you.